בכי נפשי es Hashem. In this page 86 is continuation of the title of all the Mishnayot in this perek, in this chapter, Minayin le, from where do we learn? So Minayin le apply to many different avenues. This Mishnah is dealing with Hilchot Tahara, and later we're going to study the whole subject of accepting and receiving the Torah, the proper timing, etc. But remember, the title is Minayin le for the entire chapter 9 of Amar Rabbi Akiva. So we are the Mishnah, 4 lines from the top of the page. Minayin le poletet shechvat zera bayom hashlishi shetet mea. What happened is that the same way as we talk about men have a discharge of semen, the same apply to women. So he said, if and it's after the 3rd day after the relation she is ritually impure, so how do you know it? So they said, שנאמר, היו נכונים לשלוש ימים. Now remember this pasuk, this is Leviticus 15, that said that in preparation, the God said to Moses, tell the people 3 days before the event of receiving the Torah, be prepared. So we learn from that it was a 3 days period of preparations. The second one, minayin shemarchitzin et mekom hamila. So while you're preparing a baby for the birth, right before the bris, so that one may wash the circumcision on the 3rd day, meaning the 3rd day after the circumcision, if it's occurred on Shabbat. Usually you don't do that, but you can do it in that situation. Said ביום השלישי שחל בשבת, even the 3rd day that occurred on Shabbat, because on Shabbat, you remember we talk a lot about חולה מסוכן, about a saving life. Someone is a life danger. So it's a life danger, we're in a different category. So now you ask a question, is a baby at a bris considering a life danger? So he said yes. So Rashi said, and so Ran and the Rambam said, how do you know that you're allowed to warm up a water for him, to clean him, etc., etc.? The same הלכות is חולה שיש בו סכנה, someone who's in a life threatening. So he said, שנאמר ויהיו בשלישי אותם כואבים, they said about the two sons of Yaakov that went to the city of Shechem and killed all the people in the city. So the Torah said in Bereshit 34, they said, and it came to pass on the 3rd day when they are in pain, which means the pain of the Brit Milah lasts for 3 days, and as long as the child is in pain, so it's already under the category of danger. The 3rd one, minayin shekoshrin lashon shel zehorit. בראש שעיר המשתלח. At the time of Yom Kippur, you know, they sent this a goat, the scapegoat, and they put a special scarlet strip of wool to the head of the scapegoat, and they sending the dispatch to the Azazel, right? So how do you know that do it on the Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement? Because you remember, the Yom Kippur they bring 2 atonements from public domain. One, it's the sin offering, and another one is the scapegoat. So the whole story is written in the Tractate Yomi 67 based on the Vayikra chapter 16. So they said, because שנאמר אם יוחתם כשני קשה לגלבינו. The prophet Isaiah said to the nation of Israel that even if your sins be like scarlet, they will become white like snow. So it means that Hashem will forgive them and whiten all the sins like a snow. So that's basically juxtaposition to the kapara, to the atonement of the sin of people. Last one, minayin lesicha shenechshevet k'shtiya b'Yom Kippurim. As you know that there are 5 different types that forbidden Yom Kippur. One of them is anointing the body. So for when it's derived, that smearing oil on one's body is like drinking, and it's similar in Yom Kippur. So they said, "Afal bishen raya l'davar." Even there is no clear source, zecher l'davar. There is an implication, allusion to that. Why? Because they said in Tehillim in Psalm 109, "Sheneimar v'tavo chamayim b'kibor v'chashemen ba'atzmotav." So these pasuk speak about the curse that come upon the body of an evil person. And they said, King David said, and it comes into his inward parts like water and like oil into his bones. So it means that it's somehow hackish, somehow some type of juxtaposition between the smearing of the body, with the smearing oil for one bodies, with the idea of drinking water. So kamayim bekirbo, it's applied to water. Now the GEMARA said, Reisha, the first type of the Mishnah, that's speaking about this discharge of women, the Lok Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Seivak Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. How? Dik Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, if we're going about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, so soon we explain. So he said, Teorah shmanala. So he said that Tehorah, which means that some women after the third day of the relations, she is pure. In other words, she is pure, and soon the Braita explain it. Man de lo ketanai tana reisha umokela lechula k'de Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah u'ma de kome ketanai reisha Rabbanan v'yosef Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So basically, we try to reconcile it, but because we said that, and here was established the Mishnah in reflecting to the two Tanaim, hold that the first clause is according to rabbis, and the second one, the Seifa, is according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Tanu Rabbanan. Now we dig in to that subject. Poletet shechvat zera b'yom hashlishi. Women have the third day after the time of the relations, so discharge semen at any point of the third day. And he said, Divrei Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that is his opinion. So she is pure. רבי ישמעאל אומר פעמים שהן 4 עונות, פעמים שהן 5 עונות, פעמים שהן 6 עונות. Which means that the one that they deliver on the third day, so she's impure, but if she's did it on the fourth day, if it was not full complete day, so she's still considering it pure. So it's not depend on the season, depend on the days. Therefore, sometimes it's a 4, sometimes there are 5. Rabbi Akiva said, לעולם 5, it's always 5. ואם יצתה מקצת עונה ראשונה, מקצת עונה שישית. So if in a circle it's finished the first, so you give it something from the 6th one, which means that in order to complete those missing out of the first time, you add something after the 5th one. אמרו הרבנן כמד רב פאפה, so the sages said before Papa, ואמרו לרב פאפה לרב, בישלם רבי אלעזר בן עזרא, כרבנן דאמרי יום חמישי אביד פרישה. That we understand according that it's the 5th days, the week, that it's the 5th day, the week before receiving the Torah, they start beginning the distance, because the Torah said that you should have at least 3 days, you staying away from those type of relationships, so you'll be able to receive the Torah properly. ורבי ישמעאל hold, כי רבי יוסי דאמר ברביעי אביד פרישה. Rabbi Yishmael hold, the same Rabbi Yossi that said that at the 4th day before receiving the Torah, that was the time that distanced themselves. Le'olam ki Rabbi Yossi. So how do you know that the sentence very strict over the 5 different seasons, complete 5th distance? So le'olam ki Rabbi Yossi. Basically, you should say that it's going to order of Rabbi Yossi. Moshe b'ashkama ala u'b'ashkama yarad. He said that Moses went up, every time Moses went up to Mount Sinai, he did twice a week before they receiving the Torah. It was in the morning time, ashkama, meaning early in the morning. And every time the Torah said that Moses would descend from the Mount Sinai, it was in the morning. But the other times he went, the Torah did not mention that. So that was the Pnei Yoshua, and Sfat Emet explained it. So therefore, he said, Be'ashkama ala dichtiv v'ashkema Moshe b'boker b'ala Sinai. The Maharsha explained to us that one, we use the word Be'ashkama in the morning, like Ashkama Minyan, so it means that he went early in the morning, because the Torah said clearly, Vayashke Moshe b'boker. They said that Moses went up early in the morning. And then they said, Ba'ashkama yarad, dichtiv lech red ata v'aron achicha imach. They said that Hashem told him, go down and descend, you and your Aaron together. So, because they mention ascend and descend, so we learn Makish Yerida le'aliyah. We juxtapose what the descent and ascends to establish that as follows: Ma aliyah be'ashkama af yerida be'ashkama. The same way as Moses went up early in the morning, so too he descended early in the morning. So you learn from the pasuk Vayel Moshe al ha'am vayikadesh et ha'am, which means that he commanded them over the prisha, the distance away. And it was at the beginning of the early time of the 4th day. So the Khatam Sofer explains here, and he said that the reason that he needs to have them early on the fourth day, it means that the time of the tvilah, time of the ducking the mikveh, was the eve of Shabbat. Why? Because then it's completion of the 5 onot complete, which means you have fourth day, Wednesday, Thursday, the eve of Thursday, right? You have Thursday, and you have the eve of Friday, and you have the day of Friday, and then the time to go to mikveh, which means was the eve of Shabbat. Please see the Khatam Sofer for more, because we're running out of time. So the Gemara asks, Lama li lemeira lehu? Why we need to say that it has to be early in the morning, like shacharit in the morning? So they say that we are people of modesty, and therefore a person should not have this relation during the day. So how come here Moses need to do all these precautions time? He can, it's enough to tell them to stay away when? On Wednesday, when it's the sunset. So the Gemara responded and said, אמר רבא, אם היה בית אפל מותר, ואמר רבא ואיתם רב פאפא, תמיד חכם מפיל ביתו מותר. This is an important point. This is just the digressing in order to explain it clearly. A Torah scholar that is familiar, so you know that during the day it's inappropriate to have the relations. But one of the reasons that is not appropriate is because you should not see a certain act of modesty. So they said someone who's Torah scholar can put a talit, meaning put some clothing, and therefore even it's during the day he can do it, since he will do it in a proper way that will not be verses the Rambam said in Hilchot chapter 21 that the people who are not familiar or ignorant, maybe it becomes so lenient and they go and be lenient at all. So therefore we say that it's a differentiation here between the Talmid Chacham, a Torah scholar, to observe the light in the room with his cloak, and it's thereby permitted to have relation during the day. But that's the reason why it's necessary to command the people to separate even during the daytime hours. Now we turn to page 86b. So the Gemara said, "V'hat vulei yom nidnu." So remember, we dealt a lot with vul yom, which means if the women go to the mikveh on the eve of Shabbat, so it means that they're under the category of tvul yom, which means up to the time of Tzeitz, after the time of Tzedek Kochavim. So tvul yom, basically under the halakha, you cannot touch truma and chulin and kodashim and all these things, cannot do it, and these status until they receive it to a tvul yom. It's a person that was impure that went to the mikveh. The last day of his impurity, he is in a status of, as long as it's not He'eriv Shemesh, that is a full day completed, it's Tvul Yom. It's like you have it's called in Hebrew Tum'ah Klusha. You have some type of impurity, and therefore he is, if he touched Truma or Kodashim, he make it invalid, and he cannot eat them, or he cannot enter the Mikdash, etc. So what do you have to say? That they went to mikveh on Friday. So here you have an issue, because it's no 3 days according to Rabbi Ishmael. It's no 2 days according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So how you make it? So the Gemara said, Abaye baravin Rabbi Chana baravin amrit ravayu nitna Torah l'tvul yom. They said no, the Torah was given even on tvul yom, so it was not me'akev, because the Torah did not require the Arev Shemesh, only in regard to Kodashim, which means only the entrance to Beit HaMikdash and eating Truma and Kodashim. Otherwise the Torah did not require every yom. So therefore the 3 days of the distance, the Prisha, apply only that they can eat, they can be able to duck before receiving the Torah, and not because they need, Rashi said, to be fully pure, right? So therefore the women can go to a mikveh in the eve of Shabbat and receive the Torah in the Shabbat morning, even they don't complete the concept of Arev Shemesh, which means that they fully sunset after they duck in the water. So by the way, the Sfat Emet, the great Ger Rebbe explained here, and he said, so how about the men? So if a man has a carry, if has a semen discharge, he cannot do that, so how come they did it? So remember, he said it's Erev Shavuos. And what happened the eve of Festival Shavuot? We awake at night. So the Sfatemet said that since the person awake at night, so therefore there is no chance for him to have discharge, and that's the way they circumvent the problem, because they're putting them under the category to be what? To be awake all night, so then they don't have the issue of carry. So now Marimar came and he gave this, that's the rules that the Torah was given also the Tvul Yom. You mean to say that the Torah was given to Tvul Yom, or what it will be proper to do it, and respond, so if you remember when we studied Brachot, we said that someone was impure, so what did they say? They said, that the person can come out and cover himself, even if he was in impure state, and he can read. So it means that in that sense, we can go ahead and say that it's fine, he can do it. So now we ask, maybe they should go in the eve of Shabbat, and they should duck in the water, so let them do it at the eve of Shabbat. So Tosfot here explains, and he said that, so the eve of Shabbat, it's already 5 seasons from the time of the Prisha, of the distance, because it was the morning of the Wednesday. So why you need to postpone the giving the Torah for the next day? So it means that the Torah was very scrupulous over even discharge of the eve of Shabbat. So, and it means, derived from that, another conclusion, that you need to have 6 seasons in order to complete the whole process. That's basically the Ritva and Tosfot. Otherwise, why you don't do it? Why you postpone the receiving the Torah to Shabbos morning and not do it on Friday night? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak said, the reason that the Torah is not given on Friday night, because they said in the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, Lo baseder dibarti bimkom eretz choshech, which means that they said, it's like when God giving the Torah to the nation of Israel, He didn't give them in a hidden way, in the dark time. He did it in public, and at the front of everyone, so everyone knows that they're receiving the Torah, and no one for all the other nations, the Maharsha said, and also Rashash, no one in the other nations said, oh, if we knew that Hashem is giving the Torah now on Mount Sinai, we will come and receive the Torah, we just didn't know about it, but Hashem did it on purpose. That's the Midrashic way that everyone should know, and it was revealed publicly to everyone, and therefore is no anybody from any other nation claim that didn't have the opportunity to receive the Torah. So now they ask, if that's the case, velitbelu betzafra de Shabta. So if that's the case, let them immerse themselves on Shabbat morning and receive the Torah on Shabbat morning. Velekabel Torah betzafra de Shabta. So why Moshe needs to tell them to be to distance on Wednesday? He can do it on Wednesday before sunset, and then it's 5 days, and if there is any discharge, it's not already an issue. So it means, because since you said that the Torah was giving even a Tvul Yom, that it didn't have complete Narav Shemesh, that it's sunset, so they can do it in that sense. They can do it in Shabbos morning, receive the Torah on Shabbos morning. So the GEMARA responds, Amar Rav Yitzchak, שלא יהיה הללו הולכים לקבל תורה ולא הולכים לטבילה. Because he said it's very incongruous, very inappropriate, that this group are going to receive the Torah, and those, another segment of the people, are going to immerse themselves. Which means, what do you want to do? The goal is that everyone, the entire nation, will receive the Torah. In other words, the goal of God is, in our language, is that the entire nation receive the Torah, Ke'ish echad, belev echad, is one unit, right? So then he asked them to do it on Wednesday morning. So if those who are impure have enough time to duck before receiving the Torah. So Tosfot said that if they need to do it in the morning, it will basically delay the time of the recital. So they don't want people to basically avoid themselves from study Torah, bitul Torah. So that's the reason they do it. So now they said, אמר רבי חייא ברבי אבא אמר רבי יוחנן, זו דברי רבי ישמעאל ורבי עקיבא, וחכמים אומרים 6 שלמות בעינן. So he said, but the sages said they require 6 complete 12 hours period elapse between the time of relations and the discharge. So in other words, if these women discharge semen less than 72 hours after having the relations, So make it ritually impure. So they said, אמר רב חיסדא מחלוקת שפרשה מן האישה, אבל פרשה מן האיש תמאה כמו שהילכה. So there's a difference between this man and woman. If there's charge of woman, it's a different, because the charge of man, it was on a garment. This is impure as long as it's moist. But the woman, it's different. So they said, some of the Meforshim explain here that the only idea that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah apply here, it's for the body itself, the body warmth created that situation. But other than that, it wasn't such an issue. מה דבריו ששת וכל בגד וכל לא, אשר עליו שכבת זרע, פרט לשכבת זרע שהיא סרוחה. מה אליו שפרשה מן האיש? לא שפרשה מן האישה. So maybe you think that all this pasuk in Leviticus that said, in every garment and every hide in which there is semen shall be immersed in the water and be impure until evening. So you thought that exclude that which is a certain situation, not referring to a man. So he said, no, this halakha referring to semen that is discharged for a woman. So it means, it's created a state of impurity even after that. If it was a relation between a fellow and the Kutite, so basically you know that the halakha is that they don't have the same status of impurity. So therefore he asked a question: is that make it pure or not? So he said Yisrael the gay b'mitzvot chavil gufayu. So we are very concerned about fulfill the mitzvot, because they said in the book of Psalm, King David said in Psalm 39, that my heart, my body is warm because I always have the fire of Hashem and do what Hashem asked me. So they said, therefore there is a chance that their semen will be carry this issue of fall after 3 days. But those idolaters, they don't care about fulfilling mitzvot, so they don't have that. So they don't have that concern. So it's not the third day. It makes no difference. Maybe said that because they're eating all these shkotzim and ramasim, all right, because they eat all these creatures and creeping animals, so their body temperature, it's a chavil gufayu, so it's hot. So another dilemma, so if you tell me that by eating all of that they damage the body, so what about if the semen of a Jew is in the womb of an animal, which means that you say Isha hi de'it la prosdor masrachat v'mad la prosdor lo, because there's a different way that the corridor of in the women. So they said because it's different, or dimalosh now, it maybe said that it's is no different, and the period of time that the semen renders one ritually impure is the same in both cases. So they said teiku. Teiku is abbreviation of tishbi yitzarech kushiyot v'abayot, which means that the matter stand unresolved. So since we mentioned earlier the machloket between Rabbi Yossi and Chachamim, if it was the 4th day or the 5th day before receiving the Torah, so that's based on what we study in the book of Shemot in Exodus chapter 19. So now the first day when they come to the Mount Sinai, as the Torah said, the third day they came to Sinai and they came from Rephidim and settled in Mount Sinai, and they settled in Midbar and they are against the mountain. The second day Moshe went to the mountain, and he went to the mountain and he speaks, and then Hashem said, Atem reitem, you see, etc., etc. The third day Moshe returned and he said, he delivered the message. The fourth day he told them, on Wednesday, he told them, he told God what people said, and God told them to be prepared for 3 days. And now the borders. The Torah said, should make a border for the people that shouldn't touch the mountain, etc., and all the preparations. And they said, 3 days you should not go and have relations. So Tanu Rabbanan b'shishi b'chodesh nitnu aseret dibrot l'Yisrael b'yosem b'shiva bo. They said the 6th day of month of Sivan they received the 10 commandments, and Rabbi Yossi said it the 7th. So it's important to know. There are some say that the whole Torah is included in Aseret Dibrot, in the 10 commandments. But Rabbi Yossi hold that it was in the 7th day. So what it means that one hold that everything happened on the 6th. Some say that is a 7. So and the only reason they mention Moses, it's because they want to give him an honor. Amar Rava dekule alma berosh chodesh atu lemidbar Sinai. Everyone agree. Both Chachamim and Rabbi Yossi, both the sages and Rabbi Yossi said that they all enter the Sinai desert when it was the Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Ktivacha, here it's written in Shmot in Exodus 19. Bayom hazeh ba'u midbar Sinai, that day they entered to Mount Sinai. Uchtivatam, in regards to establishing the time of the new month, they said HaChodesh hazeh lachem Rosh Chodeshim. This day will be the beginning of the month. So basically the whole idea of the month of Nisan is the beginning month of the whole month of the years. So he told them this, he pointed out this Levana, and he said this day, this will be the beginning of the month. So we learned Gzera Shabbat, you juxtapose Malalan, Rosh Chodesh, Afkan Rosh Chodesh. The same way as in regard to Rosh Chodesh, we mentioned that that day. So the same here in regard to the children of Israel entered the Sinai desert, it happened on Rosh Chodesh, and that's basically what Tosfot said as well. So in continuing, he said, the kule alma b'Shabbat nidna Torah. What does that mean, Torah? So the Torah is the 10 Commandments, because the 10 Commandments included the whole Torah in that sense. So because the Meforshim said that because the entire 603 mitzvot is included in the Seres HaDibros, so therefore it means when they use the word b'Shabbat nidna Torah, in Shabbat we receive the Torah Israel. Aktivacha, in the 10 Commandments written in Shmot 20, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho, remember the Shabbat to sanctify it. Uchtiva, in regards to Exodus from Egypt, in chapter 13, Vayom Moshe lam, Zachor et Hayom hazeh, he said to the people, remember the day that you have the Exodus of Egypt. So since he used the word Zachor, one Zachor for Shabbat and one Zachor to remember that day, Malalan bitzomo shel yom. The same way as you tell me in the word Hazeh, the Ran said, is the time of getting out of Egypt, is that day. Afkan, in regard to remember the Shabbat, it's and for sure it's included the whole 10 Commandments, be'itzumo shel yom, which means within the day of Shabbat, that's the time they make it. So now keep like b'kviyad yacha. So there are really difference between the sages and Rabbi Yossi in regard. So which day we make the Rosh Chodesh of Sivan, which day, which means according to the Torah there is a bet din, there is a rabbinical court that is sanctified the new month, and it's after the 2 witnesses come before the best din and they said that they saw the moon, and because the circle of the Ad is 29 or 30 days, so it means and the eve of the 30 or 31 days from the time that they see it appear. So therefore, Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the month, has to be one of these 2 days. So Rabbi Yossi savar b'echad b'Shabbat ikvayacha. Rabbi Yossi hold that the first day in the week, that's the time that make it Rosh Chodesh, which means since you see the moon on Saturday night, so in that day and the next day, which is Sunday, it's considering as Rosh Chodesh. And ubechad b'Shabbat, when the Sunday of the week, which is what is Rosh Chodesh Sivan, lo amar lehu velo midday. So he said that day Moshe Rabbeinu did not went up, not ascend the Mount Sinai, and he didn't say to them anything on behalf of God, and the only thing he started describing to them, the Ritva said, the reward of observing the Torah and mitzvot, and the punishment for those who violated the commandments, as the GEMARA said later on the next page. So he said, Bitrei b'Shabbat, which is the second day. The second day of the Shabbat, what happened is, he said, Amar lehu ve'atem tihyuli mamlechet kohanim vegoy kadosh. So the second day of the week, he said to them, and you shall be to me the kingdom of priests and a holy nation. That's the Exodus chapter 19. Just a little bit in the next page, 87, just a few lines, just to finish the subject. Bitlata, and the third day of the week, Amarlu. So Moses said to the children of Israel on behalf of God. So that's the what? mitzvah hagbala, the mitzvah of setting boundaries, which means the prohibition against going to Mount Sinai and touching it. Okay? And the Pnei Yoshua here elaborate a lot. We're running out of time. Ba'arba'ah, on the 4th day, so on the 4th day of the week, and it was what? The 4th day of Sivan, right? Avud Prisha. So it means that that day they separated from one another. So it means, according to Rabbi Yossi, the order was as follows. On the 1st day of the week, which was Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the children of Israel entered the Sinai desert. The 2nd day, Moses went up early in the morning, and God told him, you see what I did to Egypt, and you should be a holy nation. And the people said, whatever Hashem said, we will follow. The 3rd day, which was the 3rd day of Sivan, Moses went again, ascend to God and delivered the word of the people, right? And Hashem commanded him to put the boundaries around Mount Sinai. In the evening, Moses went down and delivered the mitzvah of boundaries to the nation, and they accepted upon themselves. Then, on the 4th day, Moses went again in the morning to Mount Sinai, and he said to Hashem that people accepted these boundaries upon themselves, and God told him to command the people to stay away, to separate themselves from their spouses to 2 days, which means 2 days Hashem asked, and Moses had the 3rd one. And then the 5th day, which is basically the 2nd day of the separation, and we're leading to the 6th day, which is the 6th day of Sivan. That was the 3rd day that the GEMARA said later that Moses had by himself, which is 2 plus 1, 2 from Hashem and 1 Moses had. And then Shabbat, which is the 7th of Sivan, that's this time of what? Of receiving the Torah. Which means that the women will be able to duck in the mikveh before receiving the Torah. We learn several halakhot in Tumah and Tahara today. The more practical, it's the halakha in regards to a baby in the Brit Milah, in the circumcision. So we learn, this is a very well-known Rambam in Hilchot Milah chapter 2 in Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 331. They said, Marchitzin et milah. One may wash the circumcision, which means that at the time of the Talmud, it was commonly believed that the babies were not washed in hot water, both before and after the brit, as well as 3 days afterward, because they will be in a mortal danger. In modern time, it's not customary to bath the child in this manner. The Rama writes that in his country and the surrounding lands, it was practiced to bath the child on Shabbat before the circumcision, using water that was heated on the day before. However, it's not customary to bath the baby in the 3rd day after the circumcision fell on Shabbat. So the expectations was, if the family anticipates that the baby will require bathing on Shabbat, and they heated the water before Shabbat began, if there is a concern for somehow for the baby's life, the halakha on Shabbat, the halachot of Shabbat may be violated, as there will be in every sick person. Because again, the whole idea is that you want to not to enter the domain of issue of life threatening. We learn also about the time of Beit HaMikdash that it was a lashon shel zorit, as a sacred strip of wool that put in the goat. And we say that smearing oil on one's body is like drinking. That's applied to the halachot of the Yom Kippur. It's prohibited to smear oneself on oil on Yom Kippur, even a mask and oil. It's permitted if one is ill, even his illness is not life-threatening, or if he has a scab on his head. I remember during the war, when we served in the war, people have a lot of wounded soldiers. And it was sometimes not a life-threatening situation, but was very irritated because of the bomb. The result, even you are close by to a fire, you can have all your body trembling, and until they take you out, you scratching your body into a great suffering. So even it's not applied to a real life dangerous situation, but in that sense, since he's in that situation, so we tend to be more lenient. We learn also the idea of the proper relationship, and we say that by halacha it should not not engage in relations during the day. And we say that the whole idea of prisha, that to stay away at that time, it was part of the proper preparations in order to receive the Torah properly. So people need to be in a state of purity. So we said it was 2 days plus another day that Moshe Rabbeinu added to that. So again, you should remember that these are two different shitot, two different avenues in regards to Matan Torah. There is opinion of Rabbi Yossi and opinion of rabbis in the time of revelation of the Torah. But the bottom line, we say that on Shabbat is the time of the revelation, which was the Sunday, it was the Rosh Chodesh, and then we count all the other days, and we enter up the time that is a full state of purity by everyone in order to receive the Torah properly.
Hashem